Really mean in this instance is that they want states to cut benefits. They want people to lose coverage.
If you want a single-payer healthcare system, this is your worst nightmare.
I'm Lori. I am counsel for Senator Sanders. I handle healthcare.
And I'm Marissa. I'm a health policy analyst on the Senate Budget Committee.
So Republicans this week unveiled their latest attempt at repealing the Affordable Care Act. This time it's a bill from Senators Graham, Cassidy, Heller, and Johnson.
If you believe repealing and replacing Obamacare is a good idea, this is your best and only chance to make it happen.
This bill is worse than any Republican attempt at repealing the Affordable Care Act we've seen so far. It would cut federal funding for states by $700 billion by 2027 and would cause 32 million Americans to lose their health insurance. Republicans like to say it will increase state flexibility.
We have Republican and Democratic governors, insurance commissioners, and Medicaid directors all asking for flexibility. We do that.
It does that by taking all of the money the Affordable Care Act would have spent on the Medicaid expansion and on ACA tax credits and rolling it into a block grant that it disperses to all 50 states.
Rather than trying to run healthcare from Washington, we're going to block grant it to the states.
Once states have that money, they have very broad flexibility for using it.
If you believe your state should have more money, more flexibility, and more choice, then vote for our approach.
But they are likely going to use that flexibility to do terrible things for the American people, such as repeal the Affordable Care Act's essential health benefits.
There are not protections for essential health care benefits in this bill.
And there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be.
And that's things, everything from hospital care to primary care to reproductive and maternity care. Things like telling your insurance company that they can't refuse to sell you a policy or kick you off a policy because you have a pre-existing condition or you get sick. Removing annual or lifetime limits from your care, your kid's care. If you have a kid who gets cancer when he's 2 years old, that child is probably going to reach a lifetime limit for a policy by the time he's 5 or 6 or even younger in some cases. And then, spend the rest of his life struggling to be able to get health care.
The state can spend it on those who are a little bit richer or a little bit less rich.
Part of what this bill does is instead of just repealing those protections outright, it lets states decide if they want to keep them or not.
Yeah, because you're giving money back to the states to make sure that those who have needs are able to have their needs addressed.
And so this would give states the ability to roll back protections for all of their residents or most of their residents or their poorest residents.
We think it's a blue solution and a red solution. We think it's the way to go.
We deal with Medicaid in a very reasonable fashion.
Currently under the Medicaid program, there's basically open funding where the federal government agrees to match state Medicaid money so you can cover the entire population that is eligible for that program.
More flexibility, more control, but we begin to slow the growth of Medicaid down in year 8.
When we talk about state flexibility, you might not be worried because say you live in a blue state, or you think it's easier for you to petition local governments than the federal government and get them to listen to you.
The people we empower, you actually live with them and you vote for them. If you don't like Obamacare, and God knows if you don't like Bernie care, who do you complain to?
The problem is that even if your state government isn't malevolent in any way, under a block grant, they'll have so much less money that they'll have to make really hard choices, even if they don't want to. With the block grant, when the money runs out, there's no more money.
Medicaid expansion ends at the end of 2019 under this bill.
And this bill, there's no more money after 2026.
The goal is by 2026 to make sure that every patient, no matter where you live, gets basically the same contribution from the federal government.
Which means 10 years from now, your state is going to have to decide if they want to keep offering comprehensive coverage to people, or if they're up against the wall, they want to take some of those options that Graham Cassidy gives them, such as repealing the essential health benefits or protections for pre-existing conditions.
And let's be clear, when we talk about state flexibility, it's not actually the good thing that people want you to believe it is.
Well, I believe that most Republicans like the idea of state-controlled health care versus Washington, D.C. controlled health care.
Republicans have been talking about state flexibility as if it's the key to health care. Republicans have even come out and said that their problem with state flexibility is that some states will use it to offer more generous coverage or to try to implement a single-payer system or some form of universal coverage.
Bernie, this ends your dream of a single-payer health care system for America.
And they don't want the end result of this to be some people getting health care. That would be horrible in their eyes. They want to make sure the benefits are cut.
Behind me is the only thing between you and single-payer health care. A small band of brothers looking for a sister.
What we have seen so far this year, and this is really important to remember, is that Republicans' goal was to do this immediately. This was supposed to be on Trump's desk day one. Here we are, September 19th, it still hasn't happened. And it hasn't happened because of the public pressure, because so many people have called their members of Congress and said, this is not what I want. This would not be good for my family. I am one of your constituents. You are harming me. And so we've got to get ginned up one last time.